Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today I am so excited because since it's the end of the year, that means I get to put out my top 10 movies of 2022 list. And when I tell you this was a very tough list because 2022 was packed with a lot of great movies. It was really difficult trying to narrow this list down and figure out which movies that I like the most and which were my favorite. And like the title says, this is my top 10. So it's not necessarily the movies I thought were the best. It was the 10 movies that I felt were my favorite and that I'm going to probably buy on DVD and rewatch for a very long time. It was so many that I even have 5 movies for honorable mentions. But before we get into everything, I just want to say, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you always know when you get my videos, because 2023 is going to be a jam-packed year with a lot of exciting movies and upcoming films that are going to come out. So hit that notification bell and I'll be getting those reviews to you as fast as I can. So with that out the way, let's get into everything. Now, before we get into the top 10, I'm gonna list my honorable mentions. And for this year and this list, instead of a full-on review, I'm just give my quick thoughts and just encapsulate what I liked about the movie, what stuck out to me, and why it's honorable mention or my favorite movie of the year. So that's just kind of how the rundown of how I'm going to be doing my list. So for my honorable mentions, the first up is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which was a very emotional and cathartic ride from director Ryan Coogler to the sequel of Black Panther. With the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman, this movie had a lot to do, and for the most part, it did it well. The emotional beats in this movie and the character beats in this movie were so gut-wrenching, so heart-wrenching. It really stuck with you. And the introduction of Namor as a villain was a really cool introduction. It had a lot of things to do and it didn't do everything well, but overall it still was a very impactful movie. Now, for another honorable mention, this was a surprise horror movie, Barbarian. This was a impeccably edited and paced movie with a very fine 3-act structure that had twists and turns and you didn't know where the movie was going to go. And also stars now Scream Queen Justin Long. This was a very gem of a movie, Barbarian, that released in the middle of the year. Now, another honorable mention that was a surprise to me that I didn't even realize I would have on my list. This is Spirited. Spirited was a musical starring Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds, and if that sounds bonkers, it was, but bonkers in the best way. This was a retelling of the Scrooge story. It's a Christmas story, and it was a very unique take on a very old story that's been done so many times. And the songs were fantastic. They were catchy. The lyrics had meaning, and this should be in everyone's Christmas list of movies to watch every year. Now, another movie that was just so in-depth and so emotional was the Banshees of Inisherin. Now, Mark Madonna is a very dark humor director, and this is nothing different from his past work. Another one of my favorites of his is In Bruges, and this is right up that alley. If you like In Bruges, you'll love this. It's a very deep, dark, complex movie and themes about life and morality and what you want, the meaning, and also who you want in your life and the friends you want and what they bring to your life in general. This is a very complex movie that was a surprise for me. And my last honorable mention is Bones and All. Now, I had finally got to see this recently, and this is a very disturbing movie. Subject matter, it will not be for the faint of heart. This movie is not for everyone, and that's what I kind of liked about it. It was a romance, it was a drama, it was a horror, it was a thriller, and most of all, it was about two people trying to find connection in this very unique and dark corner of life that they found themselves in. And stars wonderful performances from Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell. So that's all my honorable mentions. Now let's get into my top 10 of the year. Now, coming in at number 10, this was a Netflix release actually, and this movie called Do Revenge, starring Camila Mendez and Maya Hawke, was a very fun and throwback movie for me. It was a revenge teen movie that starred these two, and it felt like Heathers meets Mean Girls meets Wild Things, if anybody remembers that movie Wild Things with Nev Campbell. But it felt like all these movies wrapped up into one, with a revenge plot of getting back at a boy who did you wrong, and the twists and turns with this plot that made it so unique for me. And it just was a very fun watch, with Camila Mendez and Maya Hawke having great chemistry together and watching this plot unfold. So at number 10, Do Revenge was a very surprising hit for me, and it stayed on my top 10 throughout the year. Now, coming in at number 9 was another smaller, maybe not well known or saw movie, was by up and comer who's going to be doing some really great things. Directed and starred by Cooper Raff, this was Cha Cha Real Smooth. Now, like I said, it stars and is directed by Cooper Raff, and it also stars Dakota Johnson, who is doing a slew of very great smaller movies. Now, this movie centers around a young 20-something, fresh out of college, aimless kid who is just floating through life and trying to figure out what his purpose is at a time when none of us really know what our purpose is, being in our early 20s. And I just felt, for me, this movie hit me at a really important time in my life, where I'm in that same age range and I'm going through the same type of feelings, and I really connected with his main character and how he just was searching for purpose, and how he maybe sometimes made a mistake looking for that purpose in other people, like Dakota Johnson's character, who also was in a very different stage in her life, and him trying to attach onto that and to find something from there. So overall, this was a very emotional movie that I think just really hit me at a important time in my life, and it's stuck with me after I watched it. So that also, you should go watch Cooper Raff movies. He's a really good director, really good creator. Now, that's my number 9. Now, coming in at number 8 was another recent release that, as soon as I saw it, it cracked my top 10 very easily. And that was Glass Onion, the sequel to Knives Out by Rian Johnson, which has a slew of A-list actors from Daniel Craig, Janelle Monáe, Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, Edward Norton, Catherine Hahn, the list goes on. This was a jam-packed movie. This was a very smart and fun mystery, which I will say was probably even more fun than the first one. Again, another original mystery from Rian Johnson, and it keeps you on your toes from beginning to end, and it is also hilarious. This movie is so funny. And it is another great performance by Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, who is just magnetic as this southern detective. And it also just, again, just like the first one, explores so many themes of what people are willing to do to succeed in life, and who they're willing to step on or step over to get that. And I just thought this was a fantastic sequel and such an enjoyable watch. This also released on Netflix. Even though it did come out in theaters for a week, it is on Netflix now to watch. So go check out Glass Onion, the sequel to Knives Out. It's wonderful. Now, coming in at number 7, this movie was the talk of the year. What else is there to say about this movie except, oh my God, and that is Top Gun Maverick. This is the sequel to the 1980s Top Gun movie, which I quite enjoy, but it is very much a cheesy 80s movie. And this movie did what you always should do with sequels, is make it bigger, louder, better, but also keep the story and keep it emotional. And from the father surrogate son story plot for the character of Rooster, played by Miles Teller, and Coming Back Maverick of Tom Cruise is the emotional beat of this movie that is also surrounded by some of the most well done and crafted flight scenes you will ever see. You can feel them in these aircrafts and these planes flying around, jetting past each other. The acting is phenomenal from every new cast member who signed up for the Tom Cruise experience of being in these planes for real. And you feel the love and passion through this movie. This movie, like another movie I'm gonna probably talk about, had so many fist pump moments, and it was such an enjoyable time, and I was so glad I got to see this in theaters. This was a 10 out of 10 home run of a movie that well deserved all the notoriety that it got this year. So go see Top Gun Maverick. So now coming in at number 6 was actually earlier in the year, and it was a smaller release on Hulu, and I will die on this hill to say this movie should have been released in the theaters, and that is Prey. Prey was a movie directed by Dan Trachtenberger and stars newcomer Amber Midthunder, and this probably, after seeing it over multiple times, is probably one of my favorite Predator movies, and it is probably top 2, and it goes back and forth each day with the 1987 one with Arnold. But the reason I liked it so much is because it is a back to the basics Predator movie that really strips down to the core parts of what makes Predator movies so fantastic. And not only that, you care about Naru and her journey of becoming the warrior that she feels she is meant to be. And also, it has some very gnarly, bloody action scenes that are well done, and you will remember in this franchise compared to all other fight scenes. These are some fantastic fight scenes that you'll remember with the Predator and Naru and others. So Prey was such a big surprise for me, and I truly loved it, coming from a franchise that actually is one of my favorite franchises, the Predator franchise. So it's on Hulu. Go watch Prey. Now, starting to get into the top 5, this is a movie from a director who has made 3 vastly unique and phenomenal movies, and for me, he just cannot miss, and that is Nope by Jordan Peele. Now, this stars Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya, who are siblings and have a very interesting and wonderful dynamic, and chemistry is amazing. But more importantly, this is the most cinematic and spectacle type of horror movie that I think I've seen in a while. And when I say spectacle, this is a spectacle. The way Jordan Peele uses the movie screen and the full length of the movie screen to make you look and doubt yourself in when you're watching this movie is masterful. It is wonderful. And also what he does with sound design in this movie was haunting. It was truly haunting. It was so many scenes with the sound design and how it sounded that made you think about it even after the scene was done. And it also was a very deeply layered and thematic movie with so many different threads it was pulling on, but the main one being the literal and metaphorical spitting and chewing up of using people and how that changes you and what that does to you. And so overall, this was just a very good time at the theaters, and it had me on the edge of my seat until the very end. So Nope at 5 was a phenomenal movie. Go see Nope. Now, coming in at number 4, this was a very early release in the year, but it was so good that it stuck around this long and became my number 4, and that is The Northman. Directed by Robert Eggers and stars Alexander Skarsgård, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Nicole Kidman. This was such a gritty, visceral, downright dirty movie, and I loved every second of it. This was a very Shakespearean revenge tale of Alexander Skarsgård's character trying to get revenge on the man who killed his father. And it's a very tragic story with him finding a family and finding new meaning to his life, but him being so attached to his revenge and getting this debt done to the man who took his father away from him. It was a heart-wrenching story, but also it was a bloody action movie as well. It was psychedelic. This movie was so many things, and it stuck with me even when the movie was over. I even have it right back here in my movie collection. That's how much I love this movie. So, The Northman by Roger Eggers, wherever you can watch it, go watch it. It is a phenomenal movie. Now, getting into my top 3 of the year, this is actually a very, very recent release, and I actually have a review already up for this movie, and so there's not much else I can say about this movie, and that is Avatar: The Way of the Water. Just like in the vein of Top Gun Maverick, this is a long-awaited sequel that had so many fist-pumping moments. It had an emotional core that the first one didn't have. This was an improvement on the first Avatar in every way, from spectacle to story to characters to visuals to action, choreography. Everything in this movie was a step above and deserves all the notoriety it's getting. And I can't wait to see more from the world of Pandora and what James Cameron has in store for us. So, Avatar: Way of the Water, top 3. It's still in theaters, so go see it while you can. See it in 3D, see it in regular, 4D, whatever you can, go see it. Now, coming in at number 2 is the talk of all the small movie this year, and probably one of the most unique movies I have seen in a very, very long time, and that is Everything Everywhere All at Once. I have a review up for this movie as well, so I'm not going to say much, but all I'll say is Michelle Yeoh is an absolute star in this movie. The Daniels created this fantastic, unique, colorful world, and using a story like a multiverse, which is only beholden to like comic book movies, they use that story plot and so well, and they use it to drive home the central theme of this movie, which is family connection, and showing how nothing else matters if we don't have those connections in our life, and how small things don't matter at the end of the road up for everything. So Everything Everywhere All at Once is still one of the most unique, bombastic, crazy rides you'll ever have watching a movie. So I recommend that so much. Go see it. Now, coming in at number 1, and we're finally at the end of my list, and to no one's surprise, not even mine, this stayed true through the whole year as my favorite movie. It had everything I wanted. It was the perfect movie for me that fit all my likes and what I want to see in a movie, and that is The Batman. The Batman I saw 5 times. I saw it 3 times in theaters, and I even have it on DVD back here, and I rewatched it twice when I got it on DVD. This movie, directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell, John Turturro, Paul Dano. This movie was everything I wanted in a Batman movie. It had the gritty detective storyline. It had Robert Pattinson in the suit most of the movie, and he really felt like he was a broken man who only way he could solve his pain was to go out and fight crime. And this was a new, interesting take on a Batman that we have never seen before. It is 3 hours, so you get to live and sit in this Gotham and feel the seediness of it. It feels like Gotham is ripped from the pages or ripped from the animated series and come to life. This is such a fantastic movie. It's stuck with me, and I can't wait to watch it over and over again, and also see more from this world and to see what else Matt Reeves has in store. So that was my number 1 of list, and that was my top 10 of the list. So have you seen any of these movies? From the honorable mentions to the top 10, what did you think about my list? Did you agree? Did you not agree? Would you say all those movies are wrong, all those movies are right, and those will probably be on your top 10? Whatever it is, comment below. Let me know, and please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.